As the movie begins, we see a grand mansion named Hell House, where Mrs. Voorhees is hosting a party and entertaining guests. Unexpectedly, her daughter, Megan Voorhees, arrives and urinates in front of everyone, causing embarrassment to her mother. To save face, Mrs. Voorhees explains that her daughter is unwell, and she suddenly starts hitting her head on the ground. It is then revealed that Megan is possessed by the evil spirit of Hugh Kane, the mansion's former owner, known for his cruelty and wickedness. Following this, two priests by the names of Father McFeely and Father Harris arrive to perform an exorcism on Megan. Upon entering her room, they notice the girl being fully possessed by the spirit. Witnessing this scene, Father McFeely tries to flee from there, but Father Harris insists they proceed with the exorcism. He then recites the prayer to expel the ghost, but the spirit invites Father McFeely to engage in sexual activity. But as they begin to make out, Father Harris intervenes and tells them to stop. This causes the ghost to be enraged and proceeds to vomit on both of the priests. Later, they clean themselves up and try to perform another exorcism, but the ghost insults them. At this point, Father McFeely becomes frustrated and pulls out a gun, firing a shot straight into Megan's head. The scene then shifts to 1 year later, where we are introduced to a professor named Oldman and his assistant Dwight, who is confined to a wheelchair. The two of them are preparing to investigate these supernatural occurrences happening at Hell House. They plan to use a bunch of naive teenagers as a ghost for the paranormal activity, as well as for Oldman to pursue romantic encounters with the female students. The group of 7 students that have been selected for this investigation includes Cindy, Ray, Shorty, Brenda, Buddy, Alex, and Theo. In the next scene, the professor invites all his students to spend the weekend at the Hell House mansion, claiming that they will undergo a psychological experiment on sleep paralysis. Little do the students know that they are heading into a spooky, haunted house. Naturally, the students are thrilled at the prospect of the experiment and agree to the professor's plan. Afterwards, Buddy confesses his feelings to Cindy and asks her out on a date. But unfortunately for him, Cindy is still healing from a bad breakup and politely turns him down, suggesting that they remain friends. Soon after, Buddy runs up behind Cindy and gives her a thong wedgie in the high school hallway, thinking it's normal friend behavior. Moments later, Cindy arrives at the Hell House mansion and knocks on the door. But when no one responds, she goes inside and meets a rude and vulgar Amazon parrot that can speak. Ignoring the bird, she starts exploring the area and encounters a man with a malformed hand and is frightened by his appearance. However, the man introduces himself as Hansen and explains that he is the house's caretaker. Cindy is somewhat relieved and informs him that she is a member of Professor Oldman's study group. Hansen then escorts her to her room, and on the way, a toy clown unexpectedly smacks her from behind, which weirds out Cindy. And when they reach the room, Hansen also introduces her to a black cat that has been in the family for generations. Later on, Dwight and Professor Oldman sneakily put cameras all over the mansion, including the bathroom, hoping to spy on the girls. Soon after, Hansen arrives and informs them that all the students have arrived. They all gather for dinner, and Cindy asks if this is the same mansion where a girl named Megan was possessed. However, Professor Oldman dismisses it as just a rumor and denies the existence of ghosts. Hansen then brings the food he cooked, but everyone gets grossed out when he touches it with his weird-looking hand. And as a result, they all leave the table without eating anything. As the group makes their way to their room, they encounter a spirit who invites them to play ball. They take turns playing until everyone retires to their respective rooms. Later, Cindy hears a voice warning her of danger and offering help. The spirit instructs her to check the music room, but before she can do so, Buddy throws a ball at her face, causing her to fall. Cindy is upset and tells Buddy that just because they're friends, it doesn't mean he can treat her like one of the boys. Instead, she asks him to be gentle since she's a girl. Just then, they spot some bloody footprints leading to a spooky room. Once they get inside, they find an old newspaper with a headline about Hugh Kane and his wife's death. Furthermore, they come across a painting of Hugh Kane's wife, Caroline, who looks very similar to Cindy. Just then, the cat appears in front of them, so the duo grabs a mysterious box and gets out of there as fast as they can. Afterward, the ghost of Hugh Kane comes out of the box and then proceeds to be intimate with Alex, who is sleeping in a room. Alex is initially alarmed by this, but she kinda enjoys the feeling and goes along with it. After they're done, they sit together and have a smoke. However, things take a weird turn when Alex expresses her interest in having a relationship and becoming Mrs. Kane. After hearing this, the ghost gets scared and flees the room in a hurry. In the meantime, the mischievous cat appears in Cindy's room and starts attacking her. She tries to defend herself by grabbing the cat, but it only makes the cat angrier. In a fit of rage, the cat grabs the bottle and shatters it, ready to attack Cindy. The two engage in a heated slap fight, with the cat landing a powerful blow that knocks Cindy unconscious. After she wakes up, Cindy reports to the professor that a possessed cat attacked her, but the professor dismisses her claims and suggests the cat might simply be upset, not possessed. And instead, he tells Theo to escort Cindy back to her room and make sure she is safe and sound. On the other hand, while Ray is exercising, the ghostly figure of Hugh arrives and possesses a creepy toy clown nearby. Before Ray can even comprehend what's happening, the clown drags him under the bed and tries to attack him. However, Ray swiftly counterattacks and unleashes a fierce assault on the clown, forcing it to run away in terror. Later on, Cindy opens the mystery box and finds Caroline's journal inside. As she reads through it, she finds out that Hugh Kane had an affair with their babysitter. It is revealed that once Caroline found out about the affair, she became so upset that she killed Hugh before ending her own life. But things get worse when Cindy realizes that she looks a lot like Caroline, and this may be the reason why Hugh is now after her. Suddenly, Caroline's ghost takes over Cindy's body and transforms her appearance to try and seduce her professor. At first, the professor falls for it, but he immediately sees Ray's image in her and pushes her away. And seconds later, Cindy snaps out of the ghost's control and realizes that she's in the same room where Caroline caught Hugh with the babysitter. Meanwhile, Shorty is in his room smoking weed and taking care of a small weed plant. He waters it and watches TV, but for some reason, the plant starts growing really fast. Suddenly, the weed plant wraps Shorty in a bedsheet and sets his head on fire with smoke. He yells for help, and his friends rush in to see what's happening. At this point, Shorty thinks that the weed's family is mad at him for smoking them. However, Buddy comes to the rescue with some snacks, and the plant releases Shorty before happily going outside to enjoy the treats. The following morning, the gang gets together and talks about the scary stuff that happened the night before. As they chat, Cindy shares the truth about Hugh and Caroline's relationship, which ultimately led to their deaths. She even shows a photo of Caroline, and everyone is surprised by how much she looks like Cindy. They all start to think that the place is haunted and start discussing how they can leave as soon as possible. Scared out of his mind, Buddy tries to talk to Professor Oldman, but he overhears a conversation between the professor and Dwight. It turns out that Dwight is also urging the professor to leave immediately, claiming that things have gone too far. But the professor doesn't agree and wants to keep going with his experiment. He claims that he has locked all the doors and gives Dwight the keys to keep them safe. Hearing this, Buddy immediately runs to his friends and warns them about the danger they're in. He explains that they can't leave because the doors are locked and Dwight has the keys. So Theo steps up and decides to take matters into her own hands. She goes over to Dwight and tries to charm him with her flirting skills to get the keys. Despite the boner he has, Dwight controls himself and tells Theo that he can't give her the keys. Realizing that brute force is the only way, Theo smacks his head and manages to steal the keys. Elsewhere, the professor is visited by the spirit of Victoria Crane, who was Hugh's lover in the past. She tries to seduce him and teases him, and a few moments later, Victoria's script ends up murdering the professor. At the same time, Hugh Kane blocks all the exits in the mansion to trap the remaining people inside. Realizing they need to team up, the group gathers and seeks advice from Dwight on their next steps. And after concluding that killing the ghost is their only option, Dwight provides the teenagers with laser guns and thermal heat glasses that can detect and kill the ghosts. After a short brainstorming session, the group splits up and begins searching for ghosts. During their mission to kill the spirits, Cindy and Buddy stumble upon the skeleton of Hugh, but immediately after seeing the skeleton, Buddy becomes frightened and runs away, leaving Cindy on her own. Meanwhile, Cindy encounters Shorty while running and asks for his help, but Shorty dismisses her and locks himself away. The skeleton is now relentlessly after her, and Cindy eventually comes across Brenda. However, instead of being scared, Brenda reassures Cindy that it's just a skeleton and claims that it is not difficult to handle. She then breaks off the skeleton's head and begins to play with it. Brenda further disassembles the skeleton, causing it to flee in terror of its fleshy counterpart. Just at that moment, Buddy arrives at the scene and is attacked by another ghost. But this time, Brenda gets scared and flees from there, and Cindy uses a laser gun to eliminate the ghost and save her friend. Meanwhile, Alex tries to have a conversation with Hugh regarding their previous sexual encounter. However, Hugh dismisses it as a one-night stand and tries to avoid her. But despite this, Alex continues bothering him, causing Hugh to drop a chandelier on her head, ultimately killing her. Meanwhile, Shorty encounters the ghost of Victoria, who murdered the professor. At first, he is scared of her deformed face, but quickly puts a paper bag over her head and gets intimate with her. On the other hand, Cindy and Buddy are also attacked by another ghost and end up being trapped in a walk-in freezer. Slowly, as the temperature starts dropping, Buddy thinks he may be dying and confesses his feelings to Cindy, and this time, she reciprocates the same. Later on, despite the broken leg, Dwight tries to climb the stairs, hoping to catch Hugh's ghost. Theo offers to help him, but he refuses and persists on his own. Soon enough, Hugh's ghost appears, and the two engage in an intense fight. Dwight fires his laser gun multiple times, but Hugh keeps dodging the shots like a pro. Eventually, the two speed off in their wheelchairs and collide, causing Dwight to crash through a window and land on a pipe. At that moment, Hansen arrives and offers his deformed hand to help Dwight, but he rejects Hansen's help and falls to the ground. While Buddy's condition worsens in the refrigerator, Cindy spots a caterpillar truck nearby and uses it to break open the door. In the kitchen, she finds Shorty being controlled by Hansen. Cindy, Brenda, and Theo team up to fight against Hansen in the cellar. The fight is intense, but soon after, Hugh's ghost arrives and rips Hansen apart from the inside out. Afterward, Dwight invites the group in and reveals that he has designed a device to destroy Hugh once and for all. To make their plan a success, Cindy acts as bait and cunningly leads Hugh to the living room, where his ghost stumbles onto the device. Ray then swoops in just in time to rescue Cindy, while the rest of the group activates the device and successfully destroys the ghost. And with this, the group celebrates their victory before finally escaping the haunted house. The scene then shifts to 2 months later, where we see Cindy taking care of the parrot, despite his dislike for her constant talking. Cindy and Buddy are now in a relationship, and one day they are on a walk when Hansen unexpectedly appears as a hot dog vendor in front of them. Buddy quickly runs away upon seeing Hansen, while Cindy is shocked and in disbelief. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Hansen gets hit by a car driven by Shorty, who is having fun with Victoria's ghost in the car.